All right, we are back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly. It's episode number 526, and we are recording live on July the 20th. Brianna, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm back from my vacation. You know how they say like you need a vacation from your vacation. That is definitely true, especially when you have kids. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I'm good. I'm back in Pennsylvania for one more week, and then I'm moving into our new house in New York. So very excited about that. Just excited to get settled. But yeah, like the summer is flying by, and I feel like I haven't had much of a summer yet. So I'm excited to maybe get settled and do something normal, like go to the pool or a baseball game.
Yeah.
You were
Well,
playing some
now you
baseball,
got
huh?
the Yankees and the Mets, so you're gonna have to pick.
No, I don't. And you don't have to pick. Just because I live there, I can still be a Braves fan. I know that can't change.
Yeah, you'll get more chance of the Braves playing the Mets, right? So there you go.
That's true.
So
You played some softball though, huh?
yeah, so we started our softball season last week, and so that was fun to just kind of get out and run around, and yeah, so I'm happy that we're finally allowed to do that again here. So yeah, it's late happening, but it's happening. That's the main thing. So all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a good show for you this week. Four stories that we want to walk you through, and I'll let Aubriana start us off with I think an interesting announcement. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually really I like this story. I think it makes a lot of sense. Yelp has launched an audience platform. So traditionally we think of Yelp as being more of like a down funnel, really leading consumers directly to purchase in that moment, where I'm looking for the nearest coffee shop or I'm looking for a salon in the area, I'm new to and I want to get the ratings and see like what people have to say about it or a new restaurant, something like that. I actually do use Yelp quite often when I'm looking for new food to try in a new area or when I'm on vacation and I want to find, a good smoothie place or whatever. So I think that this is an interesting thing that I'm wondering, like, why did it take them so long to do this? But really what they've done is they have launched this platform. It's called Yelp Audiences, and this is really empowering brands to be able to reach consumers off the Yelp platform. So this is based on behaviors, purchasing intents, all of those things that they can gather within the Yelp platform. So they know that I am searching for coffee or I'm searching for salons. And so they can put me and a bunch of other people who are doing the same thing and exhibit these same behaviors into a category for an audience. And then they can segment those, right? So this segment, they can have, this type of interest-based, category-based search terms, all of those different things. And then they can activate those on their DSP of choice. So they're integrating with a few DSPs, but really this is about creating that audience and then being able to connect with them on different digital platforms. They mention, connected TV, obviously being, kind of low hanging fruit. High intent audiences obviously are more valuable to these brands. And so that there was a stat that was mentioned that I thought was very interesting. It said, on average, 90% of people make a purchase within a week after visiting Yelp. So that's obviously a very, a high amount there. So that's enabling brands to be more effective. I think this really makes a lot of sense because there is a lot of context. And what's also interesting is they're not just making this location based. So it could be location based, right? Where you have that location that's involved and really Yelp has been very location specific and how we use the app most times or the platform or their web-based offering. But now this is where, let's say it's Starbucks and they just want to look for coffee lovers and they want to do a national Starbucks coffee campaign. This is allowing them to reach all those coffee lovers, directly. So, they are delivering this through third-party DSP. So they're not creating their own DSP. It's just the platform probably to like sort and segment the audience, and then you push that to the DSP of choice. Probably similar to what we did back, at Gather Lab and how we had the platform that would, create and sort and segment the audiences. The technology behind this is not necessarily new, but it makes a lot of sense. Like the contextual element of these audiences I think is really powerful. And I can see a lot of brands wanting to bring this in and work with these audiences. So that's my take. I think it's a great business decision and excited to see how that grows. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great decision as well. I think, in the sort of new world that we're in around, sort of getting harder and harder to, pull location data from SDKs because of the IDFA and Google Ad ID, privacy changes and so on. I think you're going to see more sort of closed ecosystem type of platforms like Yelp and others, really realize, hey, there's something valuable we have in our data, in our understanding of our customers, where they go, the brands that they frequent, the categories that they frequent, the geo data associated with that, and start to open that up, for third party, ad targeting, right? So it's not just, as you pointed out, they've been doing this for a long time with, as far as advertising, goes within the platform, but now to sort of open up the data to external ad targeting through DSPs and however you want to activate on that, I think makes a ton of sense, right? And I think you're going to see a bunch of different players like Yelp sort of, get into this space to sort of fill that gap that's coming now as some of the data on the other side starts to disappear or become harder to sort of get your hands on. So, yeah, I like it. I think, obviously, we're somewhat close to Yelp through Devin, and what they do on the Wi-Fi side of things with sort of understanding sort of audience analytics of people who are going into those restaurants that have the Wi-Fi offering and are sort of connecting that way. That's just one input into a platform like this, right? That really helps you understand the bigger picture of what's going on. So I quite like it. I think it's got lots of potential, and it's a strong offering, from a pretty strong player. So look for more.
Yeah, I would just add one more thing, and that would be that I think the approach of going direct integration into the DSPs is the right approach. They could have easily put their audiences on a live ramp or something, but they chose to go the direct integration approach for a privacy, from a privacy standpoint. I think that's the right move. And I'm sure that those integrations, they take a lot longer to build into, but, I think that in terms of the long-term scalability and, how it will withstand things is probably the right move. So I think from, the technical aspect in terms of how they set this up is probably the right way to go about it as well.
There you go. All righty. On to our second story now. So we're flying over to the UK to talk about a new partnership between Airbnb and What Three Words. Now, most people who've been following the LBMA for years will know who What Three Words is. They're a UK-based company that basically has come up with a new sort of geocoding, a new way to do addressing, replacing postal code, zip code, with a unique identifier based on 3 words, as their name says. And really, in the early days, this is a company that was, sort of really focused on helping nonprofits and NGOs and, these types of organizations sort of, get goods to a geographic location, in the middle of a jungle or, some place that doesn't have an address, and creating an address, for such a place. And what we're seeing now is sort of a real mainstreaming of sort of their offering. They've done a lot of work in the last number of years of integrating What Three Words into car navigation systems, teaming up with major manufacturers, around that. And now this Airbnb one is kind of interesting because, what's become obvious as we sort of come out of COVID right now, not just in the UK where this is happening, but across the world, this year is going to be, this summer is a summer of, the staycation. There's not a lot of international travel happening yet. People are exploring their local, country more. And what's happening in the UK, and I'm sure this is happening all over the place, is sort of new tourist destinations are popping up in the middle of nowhere. And so the way they describe this partnership with Airbnb is to say, look, maybe there's that, vineyard, and now they want to sort of open up like a place to stay in the middle of the field, or, those kinds of things that don't have normally wouldn't have a fixed address, right? That you could, sort of identify. And so all of these sort of emerging remote locations, if you will, become addressable through something like what, 3 words. And then, obviously the partnership is that Airbnb is listing these properties, so all of a sudden there's this sort of new set of properties appearing on Airbnb in the UK. They can be found, through what, 3 words. You can navigate to them, through your GPS app, whatever you're using for that, and you can find that destination. So to me, it's a no-brainer. It makes a ton of sense. I think, if you're in the business of providing, a destination, on Airbnb, all of a sudden, there's a whole new world open to you of, sort of segmenting, your property. Like I was looking at something on Instagram the other day. I don't remember the name of it, but somebody had, one of those sort of giant lavender fields, and they cut like a strip, down the middle of it, like quite a wide strip down the middle of it. And then they set up like socially distanced tables for people to book to come and have dinner in the middle of a lavender field, so, romantic, night out with your loved one, whatever, which I think is kind of cool. But think about that as, that's the destination, right? Like that's the, the what, 3 words location that you're booking, and having those kinds of things available on Airbnb, I think becomes interesting. So, it's, I don't have a lot more to say about it. I think it's a no-brainer, and I think you're going to see similar things pop up all over the world, not just in the UK. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it could be like Fire Festival, except you actually get to go. I think this is great. Speaking of Instagram, I was looking at a friend of mine's. She's been posting a lot of pictures, so she's been kind of taking a trip cross country on her own, and staying at all these amazing places that, like you said, are kind of, they're really off the map, like in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and these really architecturally beautiful little, they might have been like stables at one point, and now they're a place to stay, or, very, I don't know, like plant-based, like communities that are like have all these specialty restaurants, and it's like very, very bespoke. And so I'm like, how is she finding those places? And that's kind of the question that this is almost answering, right? Like, how do you find these really unique experiences? And how do we, kind of branch out where we are? It just makes you realize like there's so much of our own countries that we haven't really experienced and seen. And there's a lot that can happen even if you can't go, outside of the walls of your country at this point. So I like this. I think it makes sense. Like you said, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And on that note, like as a Canadian that's been, locked down, and our border, even to our friends, in the US, has been closed since March of 2020. It's a long time. They just announced yesterday that the border will open on August 9th. So Americans who are fully vaccinated can come to Canada now. So there you go. So get ready, for that. Brianna, we're waiting to see you here in Toronto. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's time. I need to go back to a Blue Jays game, right?
There you go. Yeah. I think we've already played our games against the Braves for this year, though.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh well.
That's all right.
Anyways. All right.
So next story. Let's go over to Paris, TBWA. We hear a lot of the work that they do with some of the fun and outlandish, McDonald's advertising that they do in Paris. But this is actually some work that they did for a nonprofit that it's an organization called Hands Away. And so they have this campaign that they launched. It's called Fearless Night. It's a safety campaign. And obviously, like many other areas, Paris has been on lockdown for quite a while with COVID, but it is coming out of that now, and bars and restaurants are opening. People are ready to get out to an extent. But, there's a lot of like those beautiful kind of winding streets that you find in Paris during the day are also, dark and like maybe a little bit scary at night and not well lit up. So this is, it's all about illumination. No showmanship, no like crazy things. This campaign is about illumination, literally. And when I read that illumination, all I could think of was the beginning of the Minions movie, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
I digress. So the video for this campaign actually says that 26% of women and gender minorities are often avoiding going out at night because they're fearful of what could happen. Maybe it's fun to be out at a restaurant or bar, like when you are around other people and it's well lit, but then as you have to walk home, and maybe transportation, all the transportation options are still like a little bit, off from what they used to be. There's a lot of challenges. So the Fearless Night, it's simple, basically from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. These billboards that are all over Paris, they get 20% brighter. So they're like these beacons of light. They're illuminating the areas. They are, outside of the train stations and bus stops and, any areas that they have these digital screens, and they're extremely bright. So they're lighting up the night. So I think it's really, I like this. It's super simple. There's nothing crazy about it, but it's nice that they're thinking about how can we encourage people to safely get out more? How can we make people feel, that it's okay to kind of venture out? And I think people are fearful in general right now, right? We've had a lot of fear of our health and our safety, and beyond even just COVID, there's been a lot of political and social uprisings that have happened that have made people feel very very much in fear. So I like the idea of cutting through that fear and just bringing light and letting people know, like, hey, it's okay to get back out there, like we can do this. So I like this a lot. It's very simple, nothing too crazy, but yeah, that's good. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to it. I think it's smart marketing. I think it really is something that positions them and the brand well as, doing good, helping out in tough times, trying to encourage people, I think it serves two purposes, right? Like, people want to get back out. We've been in lockdown for a long time. And there is that fear of going out. At night, especially, because it's dark and so on. But I think that, if you're in the out of home industry, like these guys are, right? I'm guessing, I don't have any hard numbers on this, but anecdotally, we can say that, advertising dollars and spend, has probably been affected significantly by COVID because people aren't out on the streets, right? If you don't have foot traffic and you don't have cars driving by these billboards and these digital signs, you're not commanding the dollars that you can in terms of eyeballs, right? So I think anything you can do to encourage people to get back out and to do it in a way that is positioned as, hey, we're helping, we want to see the economy recover, we want to bring some light to the darkness, I think makes a ton of sense. So I like it. So, and I like that they, it's the simplicity of it, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. when it's, darker, we're going to increase the light output by 20% on those screens and just kind of shine a light into those areas. It doesn't take a lot to do that, right? So I like it for them as a brand positioning piece, and I like it for, sort of what it can do to maybe encourage people to kind of get back out and feel safe and want to explore their city again.
Yep.
All right, on to our final story now. So sort of sticking a little bit with the out-of-home space, there's a company called imageHOLDHERS, and they've launched a touchless kiosk platform in partnership with a technology company called Ultraleap. And so this one's kind of interesting to me, kind of playing on, COVID and, sort of all the issues around germs and touching things and just people wanting everything to be sanitized and all of that. I think, timing for technology like this becomes really interesting. And so essentially what they've done is launch this touchless self-serve kiosk platform, and it uses Ultraleap's hand tracking camera technology. So essentially you see a screen, there's something to interact with on the screen on the kiosk, and then using sort of hand and finger gesture motion, you can control and manipulate things on the kiosk screen without actually touching it. So it's using camera and computer vision to basically see where you're pointing and how you're moving about your hands, and picking up on that. So you can type things on a sort of virtual keyboard. You can select things. You can scroll, navigate through the kiosk, all using sort of mid-air gestures without ever having to touch the screen. So I think this is like if we look at movies going back, sci-fi movies going back 10 years, 20 years, you saw things like this sort of portrayed. And now, this technology is just here. Movement and hand gesture technology has been around for a little while. But to kind of see it sort of come into everyday life in a kiosk or something like that, I think it makes a ton of sense. I could see applications for this, obviously, in banking. You go to your ATM machines, all those kinds of things, make a ton of sense to me to not have to touch anything. I know our local bank that I use here, they upgraded all their machines last year sometime. And now I can just tap my card to log in. I don't have to key in my passcode or anything like that. It uses the tap technology. But I think for something like this that might be informational, think about those, those information kiosks inside of a shopping mall that have the map of where all the stores are and all those kinds of things. If you don't have to touch that and you can just scroll and do this and key in the name of the brand you're looking for virtually in the air, if you will, I think there's a lot of great applications for this. So I think technology-wise, I'm excited about it. I think the timing is fantastic, obviously, given kind of where COVID has put us. And so, yeah, I expect we're going to see a lot of image holder kiosks out there, and Ultraleap's going to be getting all kinds of requests for their technology from other vendors as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? My first thought is, when you go travel when we used to travel and you would go to the airport restroom, and then they have these little signs as you're exiting the restroom to say how was your experience today? Happy face, sad face,
yeah.
In the middle. And I'm like, okay, first of all, the last place that I'm about to touch any screen is outside the bathroom. That to me is just asking for just lots of gross germs. So it's not that I don't have an opinion on how the bathroom was, but trust me, I have an opinion about everything. You know this by now. But, it's I'm not touching that. So why don't, this is perfect implementation for something like that, right? Quick surveys, how was your experience? How clean were the restrooms? Nobody wants to touch the sign there. And I like that you're talking about high traffic places, the mall, directions, anything like that.
Even those check-in kiosks at the airport, right? Where you check in, and get your boarding pass printed out or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a germaphobe, but I think that for me, I think more about my children, right? Because they're not conscious about oh, I just touched this. I need to go sanitize my hands or I need to wash my hands. And, I definitely think that a little bit of germs is okay for kids. It's good. It gives them a healthy immune system. But that kind of stuff is well, you just don't know where, it's not like playing in the dirt, this is a lot of bacteria and sharing things that we just don't want to be sharing, especially right now. So I love this. I do think that we're going to see this picked up a lot, and I don't know, I want to try it. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool. So, alrighty. Well, that's our show for this week. 4 stories that we wanted to walk you through. You've been listening and watching episode number 526 of Location Weekly. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas. We'd love to try and include them. And, give us some likes, some feedback on whatever podcast platform, social media platform you're picking this up on. And we'll see you next week. Aubriana won't be here next week. She'll be moving into her new place. But we'll have a special guest co-host coming back on the show to do this with me next week. So, and then we'll see Aubriana in 2 weeks.
Yes. Anyway,
have a great week, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and enjoy your summer. All right. Bye.
Bye.